There was a moment when you realized Adult Swim wasn't meant for everyone. Not because it was edgy, not because it was inappropriate, but because if you was watching it, you probably was awake when you wasn't supposed to be. Adult Swim didn't feel like television. It felt like something you stumbled onto. The house was quiet, the lights was off, and Cartoon Network suddenly became something else. No warning, no countdown, no explanation, just a shift in tone that you felt immediately. As a kid, you didn't know what a programming block was. You didn't know about schedules or target audiences. You didn't know why one show ended and another began. You just knew that at a certain era, everything slowed down. The colors got darker, the pacing stressed out, the jokes stopped trying to impress you, and somehow that made it feel personal. Adult Swim didn't introduce itself. It didn't say welcome. It didn't tell you what you were about to watch. It didn't explain the rules. It assumed that you were already there, and that assumption alone made it feel different. Most kids' TV meets you halfway. It checks constantly. It explains what's happening. It reassures you that everything makes sense. Adult Swim didn't do that. It didn't care if you was confused. It didn't slow down to help you catch up. If you understood it, great. If you didn't, it kept moving anyway. You could feel this immediately in the bumps. Those trains tidal, cars between shows, empty swimming pools, abandoned building, city streets with no people. Just a sentence on the screen. A quiet song in the background. The silence. As a kid, you didn't know why those stuck with you. You just knew they felt lonely. Those bumps didn't entertain you. They set a mood. They told you without saying it that it wasn't daytime anymore. That something actually changed. Adult Swim trusted silence, and that alone separated it from everything else. Shows didn't rush into their plots. Characters didn't explain who they were. Episodes didn't pause to catch you up. Sometimes it felt like you was dropped into the middle of something that didn't care whether you stayed or not, and that's what made you stay. Samurai Jack is one of the clearest examples. As a kid, you noticed how quiet it was, long stretches without dialogue, wide shots of empty worlds. At the time, you probably just thought it was weird, but you just kept watching. Because it didn't feel boring, it felt intentional. Jack wasn't just fighting enemies, he was moving through space, walking, waiting, existing. Adult Swim let that happen. It didn't fill the silence with jokes and music. It didn't rush the moment to keep your attention. It trusted you to sit there with it. And that trust is what made Adult Swim felt like a secret. It didn't chase you, it didn't beg you for you to like it. It assumed that the right people were already watching. If you were one of them, you felt chosen. Late at night, your brain works differently. You're tired, less guarded, more open to weirdness. Adult Swim met you in that state. It didn't try to wake you up. It let things drift. And that's why watching Adult Swim felt different from watching anything else. It wasn't something you put on. It was something you found. And once you found it, it felt like it belonged to you. And as a kid, you didn't have the language for this. You just knew when Adult Swim came on, the world felt quieter and the TV felt closer. And that feeling, that's what stayed.
I fear no man.
Adult Swim characters wasn't aspirational. They weren't heroes. They weren't trying to improve themselves. Most of them wasn't even trying at all, and that was unsettling. In most kid TV show, characters actually grow. They learn lessons. They fix mistakes. They reset being better than what they were before. Adult Swim didn't believe in that kind of progress. It characters stay stuck. Take Aqua Teen Hunger Force. On surface level, it looks like pure brain rot and nonsense. Talking food, assault violence, random outcomes, but underneath all that chaos is something very specific. No one changes. Firelock stays frustrated, Master Shake stays selfish, and Meatwad stays innocent. No arc, no growth, no reward for learning.
Real a-hole. Underlined and bold.
Well, fuck you too, and the ship you rode in on.
That's not an accident. As a kid, you laughed because it was loud and confusing, but as an adult, you realized the joke wasn't randomness. The joke was stagnation. These characters wasn't going anywhere, and they knew it. That kind of humor feels uncomfortable because it reflects in real life more than we like to admit. Not everyone grows, not everyone learns, and not everyone becomes better. Adult Swim didn't soften that truth, it just showed it. Then there's the Boondocks. As a kid, the shock stands out first. The language, the confidence, the way it never apologized.
Watch where you walking, nigga. Hey, what you say, nigga? What did you say, bitch, nigga? Hey, squeeze it, nigga.
But watching it now, what stands out is restraint. The show never openly explains the points. It doesn't pause to make you sure you understand the message. If you catch it, you catch it. If you don't, it keeps moving forward. That level of trust most TV doesn't give its audience. Adult Swim didn't fear misunderstanding, it accepted it. Another thing that separates Adult Swim characters is how aware they are. Not self-aware in a wink at the camera way, but emotionally aware. They know they're flawed, they know they're stuck, they know the world isn't fair, and they don't fight the reality they exist inside of it. And that's a strange thing to add to the late night kids shows. Kids feel these things long before they get named them. Adult Swim didn't tease those feelings, it reflected them. And then there's this pacing. Adult Swim didn't rush emotional beats. Sometimes a joke would land and then nothing would happen. The silence would stretch. The scene would linger just long enough to feel awkward. That discomfort wasn't accidental. It forced you to sit in the moment instead of moving past it. Most TV smooth things over. Adult Swim let edges stay sharp. This is where the secret feeling really locks in, because Adult Swim wasn't trying to keep you comfortable. It wasn't trying to be pleasant background noise. It wanted you to slightly be off balance, and when you're off balance, you remember things more clearly. Watching Adult Swim late at night felt different because you were different. You were tired, your guard was down, you weren't multitasking, the awareness hits deeper, the silence felt lighter, the humor lingered longer than it should have. That's why Adult Swim memories are tied to places, bedrooms, living rooms, couches at 1 a.m. You just don't remember the show, you remember where you were. Adult Swim didn't feel like something made for kids or adults. It felt like something made for insomniacs, for people awake with their thoughts, for people who weren't fully ready for sleep, but wasn't ready for the noise either. That's why the characters matter. They weren't role models, they was mirrors, messy, stuck, contradictory, just like the people watching. Unlike most TV, Adult Swim didn't resolve that tension. It didn't say this will all make sense later. It said this is what it is, and I only see why it stuck. By the time Adult Swim ended for the night, it never felt like something was finished. It just stopped. No goodbyes, no emotional wrap up, no sense of closure, and that was intentional. Adult Swim didn't believe in clean endings. Episodes cut off suddenly, scenes ended mid-thought, jokes landed without explanation. Sometimes the screen would just went black, and that used to frustrate people, but that frustration is the part why it worked. Most TV is designed to reassure you, to make sure you understand what happened, to guide you towards a conclusion, to leave you satisfied. Adult Swim wasn't interested in that satisfaction. It was interested in the afterthought. You didn't stop thinking about Adult Swim when it ended. You thought about when the TV was off, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what you just watched. That lingered feelings. It made it stick. Adult Swim didn't teach lessons. It created space. Space for discomfort, space for confusion, space for interpretation. And that's when you get somewhere space, they fill it with themselves. That's why Adult Swim feels so personal to people. Two viewers could watch the same show and come up with a completely different feeling. Neither one was wrong. The shows weren't closed systems. They were open-ended. This also explains why Adult Swim never chased popularity the way the other networks did. It didn't need everyone to like it. It needed the right people to connect with it. And if you did, it felt like you was onto something. That's why the secret feeling comes from. Not exclusivity, recognition. You felt like the block understood you without ever speaking directly to you. Adult Swim also didn't separate humor from discomfort. A joke could be funny and upsetting at the same time. You laughed and paused and wondered why you laughed. That pause mattered. It slowed you down. It made you aware of your own reaction. As a kid, you didn't realize this. You just felt strange. As an adult, you realized that strangeness was intentional. It was teaching you that not everything needs to be resolved to be meaningful. And that was a powerful lesson to absorb accidentally, especially late at night. Adult Swim trusted its audience to sit with it and with ambiguity. It didn't assume that you need clarity. It assumed that you could handle uncertainty. And that's rare even now. And that's why Adult Swim still feels different when you revisit it. Not because it was edgy, not because it was weird, but because it didn't rush you. In this world where content is constantly asking for your attention, Adult Swim never asked, it waited. If you stayed, great. If you didn't, it moved on without you. That confidence is what made it timeless. It wasn't chasing the moment, it was the moment. A specific hour, a specific feeling, a specific version of you. And that's why people don't just remember Adult Swim shows, they remember the nights where they were, how quiet the house was, how awake they felt when everyone was asleep. Adult Swim didn't belong to daytime, it belonged in between states. Not fully asleep, not fully alert, just present. So I ask you this, what's the Adult Swim show that made you realize this wasn't normal TV? And do you remember what time it was when you watched it? Because chances are that memory stayed for a reason.